Hello, welcome to this video. Now, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about steel and about the skeleton of the building that we're working on. Okay, so the structure that's holding everything up. Okay, so you've already had lectures by Stephen and Monica that have highlighted the importance of this, and it made me think again about our building. And we previously had these concrete columns, and inside the concrete square columns it would have been steel reinforced, and I wanted to look more at steel inside of Revit. So what we're going to start to build in this video is this sort of steel construction, and you can see this is really great. When we zoom in, you can see that it's got all the bolts and plates that hold everything together. Okay, so we're going to have a go at making this steel structure that's going to hold everything up in our building. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to go to this project here. Okay, so I've got a blank, I just got a grid here. Okay, so it means inside of my elevation, it's all just a grid. So if I look inside of my 3D view, you can see that it is really nothing but the grid. Okay, so let's go back to the first floor. Now, I like working in the first floor on this building because the first floor is where the structure is a certain way going up and a certain way going down. So there's a difference between the structure below the first floor and above the first floor. So the first floor marks sort of the dividing line for our building. So we're going to do this quite quickly. We're going to add some columns. We already added columns, but we're going to use the default universal column, and we're going to add them to some of these grid intersections. Okay, so actually there's this great tool here, Add Grids, and if I select this and then go across all of these sections, let's have a look. I think if I select all of these lines, yeah, it adds all of those columns straight away for me, which is really good. Now, this is the first floor, and I've got to try and make sure that I haven't got columns where I don't want them. Okay, so let's select it one more time. Okay, and press the tick. Okay, so that's added these columns at every grid section, which is really good. Okay, so let's have a think where we don't want. We definitely don't want that one there, and we definitely don't want that one there. Okay, but we do need that one, so let's get rid of these here, and we do need this one. We don't need that one. We gotta get rid of this one and this one, this one, and this one. And I could make a selection here, couldn't I? But I'm just gonna get rid of that one's. Actually, that one was in the right place. So let's get rid of this one and this one. Then just these. Okay, that's really good. Those are all the columns that I think we need, which is good. Maybe we do need one there. Let's just double check. Okay, so let's go to our first floor in this one, and okay, so we need one there and one there. Okay, so I do need one there, so let's get another column. Okay, all right, that's looking good. Okay, so we've got our main columns in here, and I need to make sure that these are all going all the way up the building. So I'm going to go to select all instances visible in view. So that's going to select all those columns, and now I'm going to specify that they go from a base level of let's say the I need them going all the way from the basement, level 2 of the basement, all the way up to the roof 2. Okay, and let's check that out in 3D view. So there we have all of the columns that we need. Actually, I've just spotted one we can get rid of. Get rid of that one. Excellent. Good. Okay, so we've got our columns, but the thing I wanted to talk about was the beams. So we were looking here. I've got some beams, and then I want to talk about these connections. So let's go back. Let's delete this one. Go back here. So inside of the first floor, we could draw some beams, and we can do that by going to Structure and selecting Beams. Now, before we do, if I draw a beam from here to here, you can see that looks good. We can see that, but you might get something a bit different. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to go to just to the Modify tool, and I've got a view range here. Okay, and I've also got a shortcut for that, which is VR. There's my view range. Now, normally by default, you'll only be able to see the associated levels. So let's turn that back on and see what happens. So I'll draw that beam in again from here to here, and that's fine. But if you can't, it's a bit more grayed out. Okay, and if it's invisible completely and you get a warning, you need to modify your view range. So VR, and then you can change it to unlimited temporarily, apply, and now we can see that more clearly. Okay, so that's a useful shortcut, VR. Alright, so let's add in some beams, and we'll just do a couple, and you'll notice that I am just drawing in just a few here so that we can see what's going on. So I'm going to do one from here to here, and I'm going to do one from here all the way to this one, and I'm going to make another connection here, and I won't do all of them. You'll see what happens, and you'll see the process, and hopefully that will be very clear on how you might use these columns and beams in a very similar way. Okay, so we got some beams in there, and let's have a look in our 3D view again. Okay, so we've got there we have our beams. One of the things we could do to make this a bit clearer to see is we could right click on our view cube, and we can orientate to view to the floor plan, and I can do the first floor, and let's see what we see. Okay, so that way it cuts things down. We've got this section box which we can help to make things just a little bit easier for us to see. Okay, so we've got these beams in place, and if you select a beam and use your shift and middle mouse, it makes it a lot easier because you can rotate around that particular object. Now what you'll probably notice is that these beams are just sitting flush with each other. They're not actually connecting with each other. But if we want to have all the bolts and all the connections, we can do that. Okay, so we've got this little connections tool just here. So the connection tool doesn't really have any connections installed. You've got to add the connections that you think you're going to need, and you do that by clicking this little arrow, and this will open up the different connections that we might want to use in our project. And there's one in particular that we're going to be using, which is the clip angle. So actually I want to, at the moment I've got all of these connections in here, and I don't really need them. The only one I need is the clip angle. So we've got to make sure that we're sort of got a good economy going on here. So let's find that clip angle. That's the one we need. Press add. That's the only one we need. So I'm going to click OK. And what this means is that if I select one of our columns and then select one of our beams with control and click, I can now go to structure and press connections, or I could go to steel and press connections. Let's stick with structure tab, press connections, and it will try and make a connection for us. Okay, so it's making a connection, and this big black this blue circle here is indicating that this is the primary element. So this smaller beam is being attached to that. You can swap them and you can see what happens there. You can see that it actually cuts the column, so we don't want that. So I'm going to press that one again, and you can see now that we have the plates and the bolts and the holes that connect that piece, which is really good. And you might not see those, and to see those you have to be in fine level of detail. If I go to medium, you can see that it removes that information. So you've got to have the fine level of detail. And also one extra thing is you'll need to check out visibility graphics. That's VG, because in visibility graphics under structural connections, okay, so firstly some of these things might not be ticked. Okay, so you probably come in here and these are the only things that will be that you'll see. So you click OK, and you can see that the only things we actually can see are the holes. So when you go into a fine view and you just see the holes, okay, if you need to change that, just type VG, go down to structural connections, open that up and make sure you turn on bolts and plates and profiles. I've got the shear studs on and the welds. Press apply, click OK, and you can see all of that information. Now that's quite a lot of stuff to do for what that one connection, but this is really great. If we right click on the connection that you've just done, we have the option to propagate that connection, and that means that Revit will look for everywhere else that it can use that same connection, and you can see straight away it's added that connection here and here. So let's select that and let's rotate around. You can see that it's added that connection just there. So it's really clever. Okay, I totally recommend you having a go at adding these. Probably before you add the connections, you might want to select your beams, and then you could let's say let's undo that for a moment, and let's undo that one as well. Okay, and let's select all these beams. Okay, so I'm going to select all instances in entire projects, all of the beams that I've done, and say I need these beams on multiple levels. All I have to do is press copy, go to the clipboard and choose align to selected levels, and then I can choose using the control key. I can say I want these on the 6th floor, the 5th floor, 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, ground floor. They're already on the 1st floor, so I don't want them there, and basement level 1. Click OK, and what that will do is it will copy the beams that we've done onto all of those different levels. So let's get rid of this section box, and you can see that it's added in all of those beams for us, which is really great. So if you get the beams the way you want them on certain levels, you'll be able to move them, change them, delete them, modify them. You can really speed up the process by copying to aligned to selected levels, and also save a load of time by using those connections and then using propagate to get Revit to do the work of adding those connections wherever the join is the same, and then you'll end up something like this, something like my skeleton right here, which I'm very pleased with. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you soon.